Hey everybody, and welcome to tonight's stream. We're going to be covering Star Trek Fleet Command. There were some players that I have that had some questions regarding some of the content, as well as just some general questions regarding the gameplay and different things that are available to you as a player. So we're going to go ahead and cover these items here while I'm actually playing here in the background, as you can see, and we'll just kind of answer the questions here, and I'll go over those in a second as to what those questions were, and then we can dive in and answer those questions. So I've actually really just got four tonight. I've got what the different factions have to offer, key officers that you should focus on, and focus on leveling and promoting whenever you're able to do so as much as possible. Solo armadas, what they are, how they work, and then how to use the Mantis effectively. So I'm going to cover all four of those here in tonight's stream, and if you have any additional topics with this that you would like covered, feel free to drop a comment in the stream itself, and we can go over that information either through this stream or at a later time at a different one. Bearing in mind that on Fridays it is viewer's choice, so if I'm getting audience requests to do Star Trek Fleet Command on Fridays, then that is what I will be doing. Tuesdays is Hogwarts Legacy playthrough, and then Thursdays I'm actually going to be changing that up. I'm probably going to not continue to do the Warzone streams that I've been doing on Thursdays, so we'll have to pick a different game to switch that to. But more on that at a later time. So for the first question here, what the different factions have to offer. Now, I currently have the primary three factions fully locked. Obviously, Federation is my big go-to here in this particular account. I've also got Augment, which is maxed out right now. Well, it will stay maxed out. Rogue, Bajoran, and then the new Ex-Borg faction is the newest of the bunch. So we're going to go over each of these here. So starting with the Federation. So the Federation, um, and each of these is different for every faction here, but the Federation primarily offers your gas and your ore in your store here. So you'll see here that you can buy that in different sizes. As you continue to rank up with them with the reputation, it'll switch to 4 stars, you level, of course. So you can see that there. And so that's really what they have to offer resource wise. Now, every single faction is going to, or the main three, I'm sorry, will have the science badges, command badges, engineering badges. So that's true for all three of the primary factions. And of course, they're going to have their own recruits, so Federation recruit, Klingon recruit, Romulan recruit, so on and so forth. The big thing here with the Federation is just the ship. Now, all of your primary factions here, these main three, are all going to have their own variations of these at various levels. So those will be available to you as you level up. Now, the Federation starts here with the Mayflower, which that actually does not give you any information on it here. So we'll go back to your ships. Give me 1 second to load that up here. We'll talk about it some. So I'm going to organize this through shipyard level and skip up here to the faction ships. There we go, Mayflower. Okay. So the USS Mayflower is an Explorer class ship with a damage boost against Klingon hostile ships. So it says damage against Klingon ships. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that just applies to hostiles. I do not think this applies to players, but I could be wrong. There's not really anything that indicates that it does. You'd have to use it in combat against a Klingon ship that is a player ship, and then look at the battle log, which I'll show you how to access here in a second for those that don't know how to access that. But the Mayflower here is designed for speed and efficiency. Starfleet has mounted extra long nacelles directly under the Mayflower saucer section to increase its effectiveness in low orbit planetary scouting missions. The titular USS Mayflower was destroyed by Nero's Narada in 2258. That's not too far off from where we are today, only 200 years or so, a little bit more than that. But many of its sister vessels are still in service today. So you can see the different design here. This is in high definition on my computer, so it looks a little better than it probably does in your cell phone or tablet. So that is the Mayflower in a nutshell for you. Now, every ship has its own firing pattern, which gives it a different speed of attack. There are charts you can find for that. If you're in Tupa, my alliance currently that I'm in, I will be posting a chart that shows some of those firing rates for your all's access there, so you can see some of that. Give me just 1 second here. Okay, so the next ship here in the Federation faction, lost my train of thought there, is going to be the Saladin. And yes, there is another Mayflower right here. We'll come back to that one here in just a bit with the augmented faction. But the Saladin is the next step up here, and it is a interceptor class. So you've got Explorer and now Interceptor. So this one will actually be a level 28 ship. So it is higher up in the scale. You do have to have your shipyard up to 28 to actually be able to successfully build this. And as you can see, it looks similar to the Mayflower with the saucer section. However, it's obvious that the main warp nacelle here is just one long tubular kind of cylindrical object here. It just kind of looks dumb in my opinion. But regardless, it does not have like what the Enterprise has, where it has the 2 nacelles off the side and in the body. So it's all kind of one with this, which is a little unusual. And it actually has 2 deflector dishes, if you notice, right here. And I think that technically can be used as a deflector dish receptacle. It's kind of hard to tell, but that's definitely a main engine here. But the Saladin is a small Starfleet construction used for dogfighting scenarios, mainly in the defensive outposts, blah, blah, blah. You can read that for yourself at a later time. It gets 15% shield health to all ships on the station. So the Saladin is really good at lower levels for station defense more than anything. You put that in your station when you're being attacked. You can see here, increase the shield health of all the ships and defense platforms by 15%. So that's actually a really big boost for lower levels. Now, of course, if you're being hit by somebody who's 15 plus levels higher than you, it's not going to do anything. It's really not going to help at all, and it's not going to even scratch the surface of the hull of the people that are attacking you. It's just not going to happen. Go here. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up something here on my phone for you guys. Okay. All right, so the next ship moving forward here is going to be that's not right. Yeah, it is right. Okay, I'm just crazy. The Intrepid. So the Intrepid is going to be your level 32 ship, and it has quite a bit of a different design from the Saladin and the Mayflower, with it being a half saucer section and having 2 gigantic nacelles, which is actually that's the part that's actually similar to the Mayflower. But you can see it's undermounted instead of being mounted on top, and it's only a half saucer. And that's where the similarities really end. So this one actually specifically gives you defenses fighting a hostile. So when fighting hostiles, U.S. Intrepid increases its armor, shield deflection, and dodge by 40%. And you can read this here in your own game. And you can see that it's quite a bit stronger at base level than, like the Saladin is, which starts at 593. The Mayflower starts at 397. And your Intrepid is at 1.2 mil. Now again, this is based on my level. I'm level 41 right now, about to go into level 42. So I mean, it's obviously going to be a little different for me than it is for you. Bearing in mind, this is your base. So if I was to build an Intrepid right now, it would come out for me at 1.2 mil, with before the officer bonus, before any other bonuses or anything like that. So it actually would be a little bit more powerful than that when I'm equipping it. The next one here on the list is the world famous USS Enterprise. Now this is the original Enterprise before the A, before B, C, D, E, and then F, and all the other Enterprise models that we've seen in the movie series and on TV. This is the very first one before Kirk blew it up. I mean, you can't get any more amazing than this ship right here. It's a beautiful ship, beautiful design. I mean, this is true to the original as well as the new Kelvin universe, which is actually what this one is based off of. So with this one, as long as the ship has morale, the USS Enterprise heals the shield health by 5% whenever it gets hit. So you want to really use a morale crew with this particular ship. Now, I will say this for the Enterprise. The Enterprise is a great PvP ship. It is absolutely horrible at hostile hunting. It is not designed for hostile hunting whatsoever on any level at all. I mean, you can kill hostiles with it, of course, but when it boils down to it and just comes straight down to it, is not a very good ship for the hostile hunting. But it's good for killing players and whatnot. But of course, it has its own different firing patterns. What's really weird about this ship is the fact that the weapons themselves are supposed to be energy based, but the weapons on this are mostly kinetic, and there is a difference between the energy and the kinetic weapons. The kinetic weapons take longer to recharge for the combat rounds, which, I mean, if you're just flying around blowing stuff up and you don't really care about that, that's not going to really truly apply to you. But if you dive into the combat log, which again I'll go over here in a minute, then you'll see in there the recharge times and how much damage your ship was able to do and then mitigate and things like that. So the next ship here for the Federation, which is not the Defiant, is not the Ceratops and not the Titan, is actually going to be the Kelvin, which, as you can see, I had all the blueprints for it right here. You can see I have all the blueprints, but obviously I can't build it yet because this is a level 42 ship, and I do not have a level 42 shipyard yet. This is a really ugly ship. I mean, it's like a combination of it's literally the Saladin with an extra thing up here on top, and this is not a nacelle. This is the deflector dish and living quarters probably, and a shuttle bay right here. I have no idea. That's definitely a shuttle bay though. I would guess I don't know, that's kind of weird because you'd think like there's normally this is connected to this, but yeah, I don't know. But anyways, the Kelvin, when defending at the start of each round, which is pretty good, the US Kelvin increases the shield piercing, armor piercing, and accuracy of every ship and defense platform by 30%. So this is another station ship. And again, this ship is exactly like the Saladin. If you take away this up here, this is literally the Saladin. And it's also an interceptor, as you can see. But it's really good just in general for PvP. Because read this, when defending. So it's not just defending in your station. It's when you're defending in general. So if somebody hits you, the accuracy of your ship, every ship. So if you're in a station, it's all the ships docked in your station. If it's just this ship, then it's going to be this ship. So either way, you're getting a 30% bonus to defense. So this is a great ship to be attacked in. And as you can see, my initial build right now is it's gonna be brand new at 4.7 mil before officer bonuses, and that's at level 0. So that's pretty good. The next ship up from that is going to be the Newton, which is again, kind of like its counterpart, the Intrepid. It's the same basic design. The only difference is here that you've got the two deflector dishes, and I don't know why you would need two deflector dishes, but it's got two deflector dishes down here. And this is another hostile hunter. You'll find that all of your rare ships are pretty much all going to be hostile hunters for your different faction ships here. And you can see the significant power boost with this. This is a level 46 ship. I have not even started working towards this yet. It's 350 blueprints, so it's going to take a while to get there. And a lot of people actually skip the rare ships, to be quite honest, because they just, I mean, if you're going to spend the tokens, you may as well just level up and spend them on the next ship up for the rares, unless you're just obsessed with hostile hunting. Which, I mean, power to you, whatever you want to do. And we'll go over goals here in a minute as well. And then finally, we have this is the last ship I have currently unlocked. There are more ships for factions after the level 50 ships. I'm just not a high enough level to see them yet. But this is the Enterprise A, and you can tell it's different. It has these fins up here that are different. The nacelles are slightly different. The deflector dish is different. It's bigger and a little differently shaped. And other than that, I mean, this is relatively the same ship. It does have a different firing pattern, and as you can see, it is significantly more powerful, and it also has a different description. So I would definitely read the description here, because those are nice to read and it's fun to have that information. This ship's ability is that as long as it has morale, every time it gets hit, it increases weapon damage by 1%. So this is really good. As long as the ship has morale, instead of being shield based and saying, okay, well, if you have morale, then we're gonna boost your shield. Instead of having it like that, it actually is massively increasing your damage, because your ship is gonna get hit multiple times. I mean, if a ship has 4 shots that it can take per turn, and it hits your ship 4 times, then it's increasing it by 4%. If this ship, which has a pretty good amount of health, 7 mil, it's going to last quite a while. So, I mean, if you get up to where you've been hit 100 times, well, your damage is now increased by 100%. So, I mean, that's a pretty good little boost there for long engagement. A short engagement, probably not so much, but a long engagement, absolutely. So, let me go ahead and join this armada before it times out. Whoop. Okay. And yeah, as Robert's saying here in the chat, which I'm just now seeing, I'm sorry. I was trying to pull it up on my phone. That's what I was doing a minute ago. The only benefit from the Mayflower is to scrap it. And he's absolutely right. Really, there's actually 2 benefits from it, really, in my opinion. But scrapping it is definitely a viable option. Once you max it out, so the resources you get from it are really good. But it's also a good ship if they do a faction hunt event, where you have to level up and tier up a ship, or not level it up. You get points for tiering it, but you get points for tiering up faction ships. So if you're doing Klingons, then you want to tier up your Federation ships. If you're doing the Romulans, you want to tier up your Klingons. If you're doing the Federation, I think it's Romulans. I may have gotten one of those mixed up, but regardless, that's another thing that it's good for. What are the use cases for the Defiant? So the Defiant, I don't have the Defiant right now. I have not really made it a priority to get it. It's mostly just for armadas and boosting your team, which, let's actually find it here. I'll take a look at it and show it. No, I've passed it already, didn't I? Why can I not find this ship? It's hiding from me. Hold on, we'll find it. I'm gonna get aggravated because I know it's in here. There it is. Okay. All right. So the Defiant. So reinforced armor versus armadas. This is a big long one. Greatly reinforces other ships versus armadas based on the Defiant research. So this is actually, if you put your Defiant in an armada, it gives the other ships in the armada, whether they're Defiant or not, it gives them a bonus. So really, you only need 1 Defiant per per armada. You don't need more than that. It just makes it pointless if you have more than that. Um, for that particular ability at least. So resourceful approach, increase edict rewards by 250% when using the Defiant. So the edict rewards is just, I guess, something you get whenever you're doing armadas with the Defiant. I'm not really 100% sure because I don't have the ship yet. Defiant weaponry, unlock powerful buffs which grant significantly enhanced effectiveness versus Jem'Hadar. Oh, the edict. I know what the edicts are. The edict is what you get from Dominion armadas. I'm sorry. Yeah, so you get bonuses for Jem'Hadar solo armadas, which I'll show everybody where that's at because I've actually been asked twice today where that space is at. So I'll show that in a second. And then it increases Bajoran badges and credits received from the Defiant Amplified claim, which is a once a day claim that you can do in the faction store, which we will get there when we get to the Rogue faction. No, the Bajoran faction, sorry. Okay, so going back to the factions here. Oh, my ship got destroyed. I didn't even notice. I don't know why I just used an extra 30 minutes on that. That's okay. We got plenty of them. All right, so Klingons. So the Klingons going to be pretty much the same thing as the... And Robert, I see your question. I'll answer it in just a second. The Klingon faction is going to be pretty much the same as the Federation, with the exception of course, your Klingon recruits. It's not going to be Federation. It's going to be Klingon. You've got crystal and gas with this one instead of gas and ore. So in this one, it's gas and ore. With this one, it's crystal and gas. And that's going to be true all the way up to the 4 stars, which I don't have unlocked because I haven't put in more effort to get past 10 mil on the rep. But you can see, the different ships here and what have you. And of course, as I said before, the command, engineering, and science badges are there for use. With this faction, and I did not cover the miners at all, the survey ships, I'm sorry, with the Federation. I'll come back to those in a second as well. But you've got D3, Cavort, Bortas, Brel, and then the D4, the Bachor, the Kinkta, Coronar, and then the Hekta class. So we will go over those here. Before I go over those, though, I will touch back base real quick on the Federation mining ship, which, of course, the Federation ships are going to be primarily gas. That's going to be the heaviest resource that they're going to rely on, because that's in Federation space is all the gas nodes. So I mean, that's going to be your primary there. Now, of course, that does depend also on the type of ship. So like interceptors are going to be more prone to use crystal, I want to say. Battleships is going to be ore, and then explorers is going to be gas. So you kind of want to pay attention to that as well. But with the Federation mining vessel, which is the Antares, it's going to increase the mining, your mining gas, your mining rate of gas. So the mining rate of gas is increased by 70%. So these are pretty good. They're better for getting further into space with a base impulse speed of 99 for me, warp range of 30 for me, again, based on my level and my research. We'll come back to the other ships here. Okay, so we passed. There it is, the D3. So the D3, same thing as the Mayflower. Good for scrapping, good for the faction hunt, for just an easy ship to tier up to get easy points. Has a kind of an interesting design. The neck portion of this is a lot thicker than most Klingon ships, having it reinforced right here on the sides. So that's kind of cool. It's got these kind of thin looking wing things here that look like they could be blown off by a BB gun. But anyways, but this increases weapon damage against Romulan ships by 30%. So that's the bonus with that. Good hostile hunter for low levels. I don't really use it because I obviously hunt at higher levels, so it's not really too terribly prevalent for me. Next ship up here and I want to point out as well, the Mayflower, which is the first Federation faction ship, is an explorer. The D3 with the Klingons is an interceptor. And for the Romulans, it's going to be a battleship. We'll go up here to the next ship with the Klingons, which is the Bortos, which is a battleship. Its ability is that when it's defending a station, same thing as the Saladin defending a station, the Bortos increases the damage of all other ships and defense platforms by 10%. So that's this pretty much the same thing as the Saladin. It's good for station defenses, and that's specifically what it's for. I have one of these. It's a tier 9. I still use it sometimes. It's a good ship. I don't really have any problems with it. Obviously, going up against a higher level ship build is pick your battles. Okay, so the mining for the Klingon survey ship is crystal, and that's where you'll find the majority of your crystal nodes is going to be in Klingon space. There is the odd crystal node and gas and ore nodes in other areas of space, but that's where you'll primarily find your 3 and 4 stars is in the Klingon space for that. And of course, it increases the mining rate by 70%. Not a whole lot of information to cover with that. The Brel is a really good ship, and I don't know why that just loaded like that. That's kind of funky. That's there we go. So the Brel is a really cool looking ship. I really like this ship. This ship was actually designed by Leonard Nimoy, which is the actor who played Spock in the original series. He actually is the one who suggested and designed these shoulders right here to make it seem like it's more of a buff kind of ship. So that was really cool, and you see this design in a lot of the later other ships as well. So there's just a little fun fact there with that specifically. And as you can see, again, based on what I said earlier, with it being a rare ship, it's going to be geared towards hostile hunting, with it doing something similar to the Intrepid, increasing damage. Decreases the opponent's ship armor rating and shield piercing and accuracy by 15%. So that's a good bonus. It's good for hostile hunting. I do not have this at tier 9, but I do have this ship. Let's see. Next one up is going to, not the Augur, that's Romulan, the D4. The D4 is the epic level ship here, level 34 ship. And we just got defeated at that armada there. But as long as the opponent has a hull breach, the D4 increases its weapon damage by 1% every round. So, not very good if it's not lasting very long, but if it lasts, more than a handful of rounds, then that damage increase can be pretty significant, especially since its attack at base is, 399,000. So that's a good ship. And you can see here it has a cloak. I didn't cover cloaking, but we'll go back and I'll show you what ships have cloaks and which ones don't. So the Bachor is another, make sure I'm not missing any ships here. Yeah, I'm not. Okay. So the Bachor is another mining vessel, and I totally missed the Hydra. That's next here. I'll show you that in a sec. But that's the Federation mining ship that's the equivalent of this. 120% mining rate for crystal. Good for deep space later on when you're that level. As you can see, impulse speed, the protected cargo capacity, and that's really what a lot of people want is the big cargo capacity. So if you're doing a station raid, you're going to have a bigger capacity, and of course that's the base. I have ships that have more than that, but I don't have the Bachor or the Hydra, which is right here. This is the Federation variant. Looks kind of funky. These actually can separate, not in Star Trek Fleet Command, but in the lore, these can separate out into different basic ships that have impulse speed to get away, and then this defends right here. It's kind of interesting. The Kingta, which is another beautiful ship. It basically is just a gigantic Bortos with much heavier armaments here. You can see it's a battleship. And this one actually gets, when defending at the start of each round, the Kingta increases the damage of all ships and defense platforms. This is another station defense ship or a self-defense ship for PvP. So really good for that, and it starts off at 5 million for me, as you can see. And the Coronar, which is a variant of the Brel here, I'm sure you can, tell that. Is another hostile hunting ship, gains 10% more resources from hostiles, and it's an explorer. So rare ships again are hostile hunters. And the Hecta is just a little beast, D4 with extra little arms here, and it gets yeah, you can read it. I mean, if the opponent has a hull breach, every time the Hecta hits it with a weapon attack, increases the critical chance hit by 2%. So that's okay. I don't. Depends on what crew you've got with it, really. So Robert asks, will they ever let you scrap the hijacked ships? I wasted so many resources and it doesn't have any of the perks of the regular ships. So I don't know. I doubt it. The hijacked ships are really, they're mostly just for collecting. That's really, I hate to put it that way, but there's no difference virtually as far as like, the stats. The stats are identical to their base ships. The big difference is the appearance of them. I mean, like, I'll show you the Mayflower. They all have this yellow color instead of blue or red or whatever, green for Romulans, and they have this design symbol right here for augments. And you can see the regular Mayflower, look different. Obviously, it looks very different, but that is literally just cosmetic. There is no difference between these ships other than the fact that it doesn't get these like same bonuses. That and that bonus right there is different than this. That's the relentless assault, and I don't have any of that stuff unlocked yet. But and it's the same thing with the separatist classes as well. The separatist classes are literally just a different color. It's just red. There's not really a difference as far as that stuff is concerned. As he said, the hijack ship, it does have this, but it doesn't have like a cloak or anything special like that. Doesn't the Legionary have the ability to cloak? Hold on. There we go. Sorry, I was waiting on my internet to catch up. Been having some storms in the area lately, so latency is a little high. But anyway, so we've got the Romulans here. Now Romulans don't have gas. It is they don't have gas. Um, they've got ore and they've got crystal. So those are their two primary resources. Of course, they've got their own recruits, and again, they do have the engineering, the science, and the command badge. So they have all those. And you can see their ships here: Legionary, Valkus, Centurion, Gladius, Augur, so on and so forth, Vortivore, Valdor, Pilium, and the Tribune, which is my personal favorite. Not in the game, but of the Romulan ships. The Romulan ships, in my opinion, are really just super ugly ships. I don't care for the Romulan aesthetic as far as their ship designs go. Um, they're just blah, kind of. That's kind of how I feel about it. They're just kind of blah. Um, they don't really offer a lot in the way of aesthetically being pleasing, and I feel like that actually is a big part of it. Visual appeal is a big thing. Now, some people will disagree with that, of course, and each to their own. Everyone has their own taste with cosmetic appearance and things of that sort. So, of course, power to you all. This is the Centurion, the Legionary that Robert was just asking about. Yes, it does have a cloak. It also gets a 30% damage boost against Federation ships. It isn't too bad looking. It's kind of clunky. This is a very, very slow ship. It is probably the slowest faction ship in the entire game. The one thing I do like about Romulan ships, and these are called, well, they're birds of prey basically, but they kind of have this eagle design, these wings right here, and it's got this like beak kind of looking thing right here. So it has an interesting kind of look to it. And bearing in mind that they don't talk about this in Star Trek Fleet Command, But Romulan ships don't use your typical warp core. They actually create an artificial black hole in their warp core chamber to generate a warp bubble around their ship to propel them through warp speed, which is really cool if you look into the science of that. I know that's kind of a nerd moment, but yeah. And their first ship is, of course, a battleship, as I mentioned earlier. And the hijack legionary, just looks a little different. No difference to the bonus. It cannot cloak, however, which is a big, thing with the ship. It's kind of no point in going Romulan early on if you're trying to go for a cloak and you get the hijack legionary and it doesn't do you any good. The Centurion also can cloak, and that is the next ship up. And when defending, the Centurion increases the armor, shield deflection, and dodge of all ships and defense platforms by 20%, which is a pretty good deal for defending if you're a lower level or a moderate level. Here, but yeah. And you'll notice that's an explorer ship. Robert asks, favorite ship skin offered in game at this point. Are you asking what my favorite ship skin is? I'll check in just a second. All right, next ship on the list here is the Valkus. It's the same thing as the other faction miners, 70% mining rate for ore instead, though, and the color is obviously green for Romulan. Their next ship here, and this is the one. This is where it starts getting aesthetically not pleasing. This is probably the most bland ship in the entire. I mean, look at this. It's a lazy U, and it's got the little. It doesn't even have like the same feathering that like the legionary has. It's just these little semi-rectangular shapes instead of the defined wings and feathers of the other ship, and it's just like this little boring profile that it's got going on here. So I don't care for this that much. The ship itself is not bad. It's good for fighting hostiles. It's the rare variant, so it does the same thing as the Brel and the Intrepid, basically, increasing damage by 35% when fighting hostiles. So it's an interceptor, so it does have a good speed, and having an arrow profile like that, I'm sure that probably helps as well, if that were in real life. But bearing in mind that these ships are flying through outer space, so I mean, it doesn't really matter the profile as much because there's no air resistance. There's nothing in space other than maybe floating dust debris and asteroids, comets, that kind of thing that could really stop or slow somebody down in outer space. Yeah, and Robert even agrees that the Gladius is pretty ugly. Just in general, it's not a very attractive ship. It's very bland aesthetically, which you know it's funny because the Romulans, they're a cousin of the Vulcans. They're actually a subset species. They broke off from the Vulcans a long time ago, thousands of years ago or whatever. And they have more emotion. So you would think having more emotional base that their ships would be a little bit more interesting looking. Especially with some of their behaviors and whatnot, you'd think it'd be more aggressive looking. This ship actually looks to me to be more Vulcan than it does Romulan, which is an interesting side note. Just point that out there. And we will come back to the Mantis later here. The next ship up here for them is the Augur, and I'll answer your question here real quick, Robert, since I got an answer from you. So the favorite ship skin offered in the game at this point. Well, let's go look here. And I will join this armada real quick as well. So let's go to my skins and see what we got going on here. So these are the different ship skins. These are the ones I have unlocked down here. I don't know. I mean, it would just depend. I really like the way the Infinitus looks. This kind of yellow-ish kind of color. The one thing I don't get with this ship, and this is the Vidar, is it doesn't have a cloak, and it is made by the Romulan Empire, the Romulan Star Empire. So you would think that it would have a cloak, but it doesn't. I really don't. The Ceratops just looks stupid. It's just this bright, gaudy, ugly orange. I don't know why anyone would want to paint a ship or a car or anything that color. There's only one thing on the planet in existence, as far as we know it, that needs to be orange like that, and that is literally an orange. Um, I mean, this basically makes this ship into just a giant freaking orange with nacelles. I do like the profile of these; they do look kind of cool, but I mean, this is literally just a gigantic freaking orange with some mold on it right here. So I really hate that skin. Um, I'm a really, 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 really big fan of TNG and the Enterprise D. Now, granted, Scopely was kind enough to give us a banged up version of this skin, and they gave a they gave us the same skin for the Enterprise A. Actually, it literally these unlocked at the same time for me. I assume that they did for everybody else as well, but these are identical. These two skins right here, there's nothing different between them. They are literally identical. This one's for the Enterprise A. You can see it's the same thing. Um, but the Enterprise D has always been one of my favorite ships. I've actually got a model of this ship sitting next to me on my desk. Um, this is by far my favorite. I really wish that they would give me a skin of the Enterprise D that does not have any damage on it, though, because that would just look awesome in my collection. I really like the Opus Grande is okay. I really do like the Section 31 refit. I would love to have an Enterprise version of this. I like the dark theme that it's got going on here. This ship is really cool, and I will show you guys something with this ship that I don't think a lot of people have noticed. If they have noticed it, they have not pointed it out, and I'll show you something with that here in a few minutes. And then probably my last is the Jem'Hadar Defiant. I think that looks pretty cool. I think, or that's for the Kelvin. I'm sorry, not the Defiant. Um, it looks like the Defiant though. But it looks like a little bug. There's a little space bug flying around. But if that answers your question, we'll go back here to the ships. So, anyways, we stopped here at the Cavort. No, that's not right. Let's reorganize that, shall we? The Vulcus. We stopped there. Gladius did that one. The Augur. So the Augur I like a little better. It's basically just a bigger version of the Legionary. And again, wings are nice and defined. They look pretty. They're nice and sharp. As long as the opponent ship is burning. So this one's burning. The Klingons is hull breach, and then the Enterprise, or the Federation, is morale based. But if it's burning, the opponent is hit with the Obliterator weapon, which is the big, gigantic kinetic cannon this thing has. It recharges pretty slowly. The Augur increases all weapon damage by 50%. So the Augur is a big tank, is basically what it is. It's a gigantic tank. So it has really good defense and health, and it does a good amount of attack damage too, especially if the ship is burning. So this one is actually a really heavy hitter. I personally use this for my hostile hunting. I also use it for a lot of my armadas because it can take and deal quite a bit of damage. You can see these gigantic cannon guns right here. These are the obliterators, by the way, right here. And again, this thing has kind of like an eagle design. You can see the giant beak right here, and the wings, of course, as I mentioned already. And this ship can cloak. Now, these are not Romulan, but I really think... Here it is. I really think that they should have more of a mention. The Vidar, which is made by the Romulan Empire. The Romulans, right here. It says the Romulans made this, but yet it's not a faction ship, and it shouldn't be. But anyways, the Vidar, which is really nasty looking, kind of looks like the Narada a little bit, is good for Borg hunting. And then recently they released the Vidar Talios, which is a little different. The one thing with the Talios I will point out for anyone who does not have it and wants to know more information about it is that it does not receive the research bonus for the Vidar research. So the Vidar, you have some research you can do that gives you some bonuses against the different Borg hostiles. This does not get those bonuses. So if you max out the research to get more Borg, more Borg resources from killing the probes, the nano probes and stuff like that, this does not get those bonuses. It just doesn't. But it's basically the Vidar on crack. Like it's got a bunch more spikes. It does more damage to the Borg hostiles. Initially, this is not as good a ship as the Vidar, but that's with the Vidar being tier 9 and this thing being tier 1, level 1. It's not as good a ship as the Vidar maxed out, of course, but that's the difference between a tier 9 and a tier 1. All right. So the next one up here for the Romulans, as I covered these already, is the Vortivore. I think, is it the Vortivore? Yeah, that's the Vortivore. Okay, I was just making sure as I lost track a little bit there. But yeah, hook nose. I guess these are supposed to be feathers. They're nowhere near as defined as the auger. This one is obviously focused on ore, being a Romulan vessel, and not really much to say about that one. The Valdor, another ridiculously ugly ship. Very lazy design on the wings, not very aesthetically pleasing, thin profile. I mean, it literally has, it's not chunky, it's not bulky, it just looks kind of blah. And it's got this hook nose kind of thing going on here. So this is kind of more like a, what are they called? The flying dinosaur. My brain just a pterodactyl. It kind of reminds me of a pterodactyl or something, or maybe even a Fearow if you're a big fan of Pokemon. This head reminds me very much of the Fearow Pokemon, which is kind of funny actually. And of course, that's an explorer. Gets a 30% bonus to mitigation when it's defending. So that's a shield defense, not a shield defense, a station defense or a personal defense ship. The Pilium, another lazy design. Basically the Gladius again, another rare ship, good for hostile hunting. You get 10% increase for loot when you're killing hostiles. Again, lazy, rectangular-ish, little feather things here going on. This one has no beak at all, has no face actually. It's got these two different little spaces here. This would be an easy ship, in my opinion, to just kind of snap in half. I don't know why they designed it like that. It's boring. I don't care for it. But again, that's me. You may like it. It may be the best ship in the world for you. This one is my personal favorite Romulan ship. The feathers are not super defined, but these ridges are kind of cool looking. This ship is and obviously it's got a tail feather right here. That's kind of cool. If you look at it from this perspective, it literally looks like a bird. Huge warp engines, big guns on right here. Beak, got the Romulan eagle right there, and it's just a really bulky looking ship. I don't know what about this ship is aesthetically pleasing, but it really is. I just like the way it looks. And this actually, as long as your opponent is burning, the Tribune increases the number of shot for each weapon by 1 for this round. So that's per round that the ship is burning. So you get an additional shot per round, basically, if the ship is burning, which is really kind of useful, actually. They're still running exchange armadas. Running exchange armadas like it's crack while I'm doing my stream here. All right, so that covers the 3 primary factions. Now you do have obviously these other 4 factions here. I'm not going to go over any more with the hijacked ships. They're the same thing basically, minus the cloak and the extra defense types. The augments. The one thing with the augments, the higher your rep is, the higher powered and more likely it is you are to be attacked by hostiles in augment space. It's not like the 3 primary factions here, where as you rank up your reputation with them, you no longer get attacked by their what we call tails or chasers. Augment space is the opposite of that, because you're not actually being attacked by the augments, you're being attacked by bounty hunters chasing the augments. So if you're friendly with them, they're going to start chasing you, which is that kind of threw a lot of people off from the get go. I thought it was a good little feature there. And if you're lower level, or trying to level up a lower level ship, this is a good way to do it. You just drop it off in augment space and let it get hit over and over and over again until it just is destroyed, or until they stop sending hostiles to get you. The rogue store. Oh, and I will say this is a good way to get independent credits is by mining data. You can do that, and you want to use the botany bay to mine that. Me personally, if I see another ship mining data other than the botany bay, I just blow it up, because you have specialized miners, um, for a reason. The Devore is meant to mine latinum. The Phorecia is meant to mine the concentrated latinum. Botany bay is data. Um, Different things like that. So the Rogue Faction store. Now, I don't have them maxed. Obviously, I'm only two. Well, I'd say a little less than two, actually, because I'm almost a partner, and partners, you know, second from being maxed out. Outlaw being the maximum, of course. Um, this is a good faction, though, and this one is hard for a lot of people. It takes a lot of time. I would recommend investing in getting two Stellas, and I'll show you that ship in just a second. A Stella is a good ship for exchange. I wouldn't recommend using any other ship for exchange armadas. Other than the Stella, you can, of course, use other ships for the exchange hostiles. Um, and I'll show you a good crew you can use for that if you've got them unlocked. I'm sure that it's pretty obvious once I show you. But yeah, that's a ship I would definitely recommend getting two of, and I'll show you why when I pull up the ship here in a second. Research credits, these are good. You want to get these for your research. Obviously, it's a research credit. Your exchange loot, which you actually, or at least me, I use the uncommon rewards here, but this will give you reputation and your rogue credits. Your stellar particles, which I actually don't use it for this. I use it just strictly for research, but you can exchange it, and you get these from tearing up your Stella and then scrapping it and then rebuilding it. Whenever you scrap your Stella, that's where you get this from. You have to actually max out your. No, not max out. I'm sorry. You don't have to max it out. That's the other ships I'm thinking of. But yeah, you get a Stella, you scrap it, and you'll get one of these, and then you can rebuild the Stella over and over and over again. And that's the way the Stella works. The Stella is really funky because it's the only ship that you get scrap and you get it back immediately, and then you rebuild it. And you're supposed to continuously do that in order to get these feathers, or the Stella particles. I call them feathers, but the Stella particles to do your research and upgrade your Stella, which again I'll go over more in just a second when I show you the ship. Of course, these are your Armada rewards right here for them, and you'll need these to level the ship up, or to upgrade it, stuff like that. The Bajoran faction is one that I have not really taken a lot of time to invest myself in. However, that being said, they do have some really good rewards. The reason why I haven't spent a lot of time on this yet is honestly I just have not had time to sit down and just focus on it. Scopely is too busy stuffing these events down our throats right now for me to focus on doing this. Just to be quite honest. But you can see here this unlocks, and obviously this is just for the one ship, but all these ships that have it, the auto defense shards. So that actually, the auto defense, if you can unlock that, that really gives you a good boost to your defenses. I would definitely recommend trying to unlock those if you can. But with the Bajoran store, you can get some really good stuff for doing your ships. If you do the armadas and stuff, trying to find. Oh, I've got it right here. So this is the Defiant claim that I read about earlier. And then this right here is from the Uncommon. Excuse me, sorry. It's from the Uncommon Dominion solo armadas, which I'll show you where to find in a second. Okay, and then this is what I was looking for. So the material claims. So you can exchange and get these tokens right here. It's really helpful because it helps you get these at higher levels. Obviously, if you're lower level and you're not using 4-star resources, that doesn't really matter to you, but I would collect it as you can to just help you out. Same thing with this. I'm actually going to do that right now. I mean, pretty substantial stuff. I'm going to be needing this once I get level 42, because upgrading stuff to 42 is a nightmare, apparently, from what I've been told. But yeah, you get some really good stuff here with this as you work on it. X-Borg, that's the newest one. So first off, when you get X-Borg unlocked, I would very, very, very much recommend against getting any of these. First of all, I'm not going to spend 400 of my X-Borg credits to get 50 Latinum. Like, that's just dumb. Considering that I can refine Latinum and get, like, I don't even know how many times more than that. Like, that's ridiculous. That's not even acceptable, in my opinion, especially considering my rank with them is favored. This is like the third rank up with them, and it doesn't, ranking up with them does not change anything in this store, period. It doesn't change anything. This all stays the same. This has been the same since I started with this faction. Has not changed. No, this is the only one besides this, obviously, that I will get. The Stella Max Outlaw. Now, this is because my Stella is maxed. This actually saves me from having to wait on my Stella being scrapped. So this is really helpful. 16.5 thousand of these Stella particles, and I can do this once a day. So that's really helpful for me. I've got 19 hours left on it. Obviously, the Titan A blueprints, this is how you're going to get them unless you buy it, or earn blueprints through events and stuff that they're doing. But I would recommend getting that as well. That's the newest ship. It's pretty good from what I've seen. But I'm not spending $100 to get it. It's not that good. All right, that's your factions for you. Now, me personally, because part of this question was what faction do I recommend? It really just depends. I have found that the Federation is probably the easiest faction to start with. Yes, the Romulans have the cloak, and that is a big pro, because the Mayflower does not have a cloak. I don't believe. I don't think the Saladin does, but the Federation has the most missions out of all the factions. So they are the easiest to get credits for. They are the easiest to really do anything with, to get anywhere fast. But here you can see all the ships that have cloaking. So the Cerato's, which I skipped completely. And talking to you guys. I mean, obviously I have the Cerato's, but let's see here. So I've got all of the base ships cloaking unlocked. I don't have anything above that. The Cerato's I haven't wasted my time unlocking. And apparently they have an Enterprise D. That's a level 60 ship. That's what that is. I really want to get that ship. That's my favorite. Enterprise D. Oh yeah. But yeah, so you can see here that, I mean, the Legionary has cloaking, but the counterpart, the Mayflower, does not. The Saladin doesn't have it, but the Centurion does. So I mean, it's really pick and choose. But yeah, the Romulans are definitely gonna, and the Klingons as well, are definitely gonna have that cloaking versus the Federation, which is not gonna have that cloaking. But I would recommend the Federation because I just feel like their ships are better. The Enterprise is a great ship, and I'm a big fan of the Enterprise, of course. So I personally would recommend the Federation. Now you can do what I did, which is lock all three factions. Some people recommend that, some people don't. I locked the Federation first, and then I did Klingon and Romulan, and I got them locked. That's what I recommend doing, is doing that, because then you don't ever have to worry about chasers whenever you're doing armadas in their space. So that's one less thing you have to worry about. So I know that was a lot of information, but that's basically the answer, and showing you the different ships and things of that sort. So I hope that information is helpful for you, for anyone who wanted to hear about that section. The next question here was, what are key officers that I would recommend focusing on? Um, so that's kind of a weighted question, because you don't get to pick what officers you get from your officer packs. But that being said, I mean, obviously, I've got a ton of officers here. I don't have them all, but I've got a bunch of officers. I got more officers unlocked than not unlocked. And most of the ones that are locked for me are new officers. Like, this is probably the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Um, Not his abilities are good, but just the fact that they made a Picard from the holodeck. Anyways, I hadn't even noticed that until today. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can see, obviously, I have maxed out all my useless officers. Um, he's not useless, but you'll see a lot of my common and uncommon officers are maxed out. There's a reason for that. And that's because of the um, it's because of events for leveling up officers, to be honest, as well as domination, where you get points for increasing your power. Most of those domination events, and you can look at the details for those when they occur. You can open it up and check it out. But a lot of times, leveling up officers will count towards that, and that's I found is the easiest way to actually do those events. Um, Yes, Robert. I will be doing as requested. I'm doing these on Fridays because that's viewers' choice. So if I get additional requests to do Star Trek Fleet Command on Fridays, then that's what I'll do for that particular Friday. Um, if there's any new questions that haven't been covered, if there are questions that I've already covered, I'll just refer people to this video. Um, but yeah, so for recommended officers, it really depends on what you want to do. So if you just want to be a mining player, which is boring in my opinion. I mean, obviously mining is a part of the game, but if you're playing a game like this to just put miners on nodes, you're just gonna quit playing after a couple months. I'm not gonna lie, it's not gonna be entertaining for you. It's not gonna hold your attention, and you're not going to be playing this game for very long. Especially with some of the competitive players that are on some of these servers, our server included. So, if you're doing mining, I would recommend focusing on T'Pring, who is right here, Ston. Here, let me do it like this so we can actually have the groups here. So T'Pring, Ston, and Barrett. So these are your three primaries. T'Pring being gas miner, Ston being ore, and then Barrett being your crystal. Those are going to give you your biggest boosts early on for those type of mining that you're going to be doing. DuPont is a good one as well, because he gives you a good protected cargo. That's also something that T'Pring does, is increase the protected cargo. Ston increases your cargo hold, so how much you can actually mine. Barrett is a good defensive miner. He gets a bonus for defenses with mining. I wouldn't really worry about Helvia or Demetia. Domitia, I don't know, Domitia. It's a really weird name. She's Vulcan. Um, I wouldn't worry about Kabish too much either. Not These three are not really helpful, to be quite honest. I mean, they give you small bonuses, but once you've got these three, you'll never use these guys again. McKinnon is good for mining isogen. She gives you a bonus. I heard that MS guys kind as well. Um, I will reserve my opinion for now on that. Maybe at the end of the stream, I'll mention something with makeshift. Um, yeah, those are going to be your primary mining officers. Is these three? I really would focus on trying to acquire them, and to be quite honest, you can actually focus on them. Uh, you cannot use Latinum on any of the recruiting except for standard recruit, and of course these 3 officers are in standard recruits. Now I'm going to show you something here which a lot of people have either forgotten or they don't know about. A lot of people didn't even know you could use Latinum to you know, purchase recruits from the standard recruit store. But we'll go ahead and do this since I just got one for Ston. Get this out of the way here. So I'm just real quick just going through this here. Get rid of all my little recruit tokens for that particular one. Okay, so if you're doing 5 chests, which I highly recommend doing the maximum number of chests when you can, and the reason why is that it actually increases your percentage chance of getting more of the shards or getting a lucky draw. It increases your chance, and it doesn't say it there. I thought that it might, but it doesn't. But it's 400 latinum to get the 5 chests. So I mean, if you're wanting to focus on getting the mining officers and you've got, you know, latinum to spare and you're not using it for anything else, you can hypothetically come in here and cheat, sort of, by spending lat. It's not really cheating, but spending the latinum and getting your tokens. Now you're seeing that I'm getting some officer XP here. The reason why is because I have officers that are maxed out. So when I'm getting stuff for them, it's just giving me experience points instead. And you'll see that pretty much all these are maxed out except for these 3. So yeah, that's if you're wanting to do that, I would recommend that. Claw is a good officer to have early on, not for mining, but he gives you an impulse speed increase. So I wanted to point that out since I see him right here. Chen is really good for hostile hunting. I mean, that's really... Oh, Cadet Scotty. Cadet Scotty is really good for increasing your warp distance. He gives you that +5, and he's very helpful. I really enjoy using him. In fact, actually, I use him... Get out of that. Get back. I use him for my discovery. See here, I got him right here for my discovery. He increases my warp by 5. That's the maxed out version of him, and that's really helpful. TOS Scotty right here is another good one. It increases the warp range of explorers by +4. And then, of course, Grush increases the warp range of the ship by 10%, which actually gives my my discovery here a 92 warp range, which is pretty nice to have for accessing deep space. Does Scotty know about Fiona and me? Probably. He's probably going to hunt you down. Actually, just a fun fact. The actor who played Scotty in the original series was actually a war hero and was missing a finger. It was shot off by a sniper during war, and they put a lot of effort into hiding that hand and covering it up. He didn't wear a prosthetic over it or anything like that in the original series. The hand is just kind of kept at angles or out of view to hide the fact that he's missing a finger. But he actually was a war hero. But he was very, very humble about it and didn't actually want people knowing about it. And it came out later, of course, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't know. But yeah, just a little fun fact about that. I thought that was really cool that he was filling that role and actually did have a history in the military and was an authentic hero. That was pretty cool. And he did not know that ship like the back of his hand because obviously he turned around and hit his head on a bulkhead and knocked himself out. That's a different story for a different time. But yeah, as far as like mining officers, that's what I would recommend. Would be one of the, or well, all 3 of them if you can get them. They're all helpful in their various areas that they mine in. Let me go ahead here and regroup here. Again, depending upon what you're doing, if you're wanting a morale crew, Spock early on is good for morale. When the ship has morale, Spock restores shield health to the amount of 750% of the defense on the officer ship. Now again, that's for me because of his level or his tier, whatever you want to call it. But he pairs up really well with Uhura, who increases the accuracy of the ship. That's mostly what she does. And Kirk, who is inspirational and gives you a 70% chance for inspiral morale for 2 rounds. And as long as he has morale, if he's the captain, he gives a bonus of 40% to all your stats. So he's pretty useful as well. That's you really want to have them on an explorer, um, because of that morale boost that you get with the Federation explorers, especially. Would use that for the Enterprise early on if you don't have other crews. Now, if you're just hunting hostiles, Pike, Moreau, and Chen, wherever I put her at, she's on here somewhere. Um, that's a really good combination that I use constantly for hostiles. Pike, Moreau, and Chen. Pike is the captain. He just increases the ship XP by 30% if you have him as an officer. But if you have him as captain, he increases the effectiveness of all officer abilities that trigger in combat. Now, mine's 120% because of his level again, but really helpful when you've got like Moreau, who decreases armor piercing and shield piercing and accuracy by 50% from hostiles. So, I mean, you times that by 150%. I mean, that's a pretty good little boost. And then Chen, if I can find where she disappeared to. She's got such a big chin, you'd think that we'd be able to find her pretty easily. There she is. See what I did there? Chin, haha. Yeah, and if the opponent is a hostile, Chen decreases the weapon damage done by its energy weapons by 30%. Works, for me against hostiles 51 and under. So again, chimes that by 150%, and it's super effective and it helps keep you alive. Talon is another good one. Basically does the same thing, but it's for kinetic weapons, and it's 20 instead of 30%. Of course, that's again level based and promotion based, all that stuff. And she is max rank. But yeah, so if you're fighting someone who's using kinetic weapons, you'll want to use Pike, Moreau, and Talon. Chen if they're doing energy based weapons. And that's a good hostile hunting crew. PMC is what that's usually called, or PMT, depending on what you're doing. If you're further on in the game, for recommended crews, I would recommend trying to get 10 of 11 and 3 of 11. 10, 11 vastly increases the mining speed. Mining speed of the ship by 100%, which is really helpful. And of course, increases the mining of the crap resources, parasteel, titanium, and dilithium, which everyone says parasteel. It is not parasteel, it is par steel. There's no extra A here. I see a lot of people say para steel, like they're parachuting, and it's par steel. Yeah, really good for mining speed. She vastly increases your protected cargo, 300% increase for your protected cargo. She's amazing. Same thing with her gas mining, increases it by, and this is she's tier 1. I have not tiered her up or promoted her, so she's really good for that. And of course, that's T'Pring, by the way. For those of you that didn't know that, that's actually that's the Borg version of T'Pring. 5 of 11, another great officer to have. She is actually going to be really helpful. She increases the amount of resources dropped by hostiles by 40%. I've got her at tier 2, so that's slightly increased, but she's great to have for Borg hostiles or really any hostile hunting. Also, she increases the shield deflection, armor and dodge by the ship by 1,000%. Now, if you've got synergy, especially full synergy, that is significantly higher, and is really helpful for any sort of hostile hunting, Borg killing, things like that. And of course, her stats are superb as well. She has really good stats. I'm going to save that actually and not do that right now, but she has really good stats. So I would recommend getting her whenever you're able to. Arium is good for mining isogen. Let's see what else. McCoy is good for explorers. I guess I could promote him. Yeah, let's go ahead and promote him. Why not? So just an old country doctor. If the ship is an explorer, McCoy increases the attack, defense, and health of all officers on the ship by 60%. Really good with synergy, because that number obviously is increased when you have synergy. I don't really use him as captain, but you can. And then when defending, he increases the shield deflection, armor, and dodge of the ship by 300% of the health of all officers on the ship. So you could use him for defenses in that particular manner, and he would probably serve a good role. I don't use him as a captain very often, if at all, just because I just don't need to. Honor Guard Worf, and then the strike team Una and Ortega. Both of those are strike teams. They're really good. If you have who's it? Pike? No, it's not Pike. Yeah, strike team Lon. If you have her, I would use her in place of Honor Guard Worf, so you get that full synergy. They're really good for PvP, so I would encourage using them. I don't have Strike Team on, unfortunately. I was not able to get her in the event, but she is really good for PvP, all three of them put together. And then, of course, the unbeatable PvP crew, apparently that's of late, is Garrick, Damar, and Goldacott. I believe with Goldacott being the captain. But yeah, they're really good. I don't have all three of them either, unfortunately. Garrick is my favorite DS9 character, though, so I really would like to have him. But yeah, they're good for PvP. Really hard crew to beat, and I would just recommend getting them if you can. And then also, where's he at? Harrison is another good one, if I can find him. Where are you? He's in here somewhere, I know. I have him somewhere. There he is. That's Khan. Hey, John Harrison. Or Benedict Cumberbatch. Great actor, by the way. But yeah, no, for the first round of combat, he ignores 60% of the opponent's shield. So the Enterprise, if they've got Spock especially, is shield based. So Harrison is phenomenal for dealing with the Enterprise. If you're on and of course the Augur beats the Enterprise most of the time, anyways, because of the sheer health of it. But if you're fighting the Enterprise, I would recommend using Harrison because of his ability there. And then, of course, when fighting explorers, aka Enterprise, John Harrison increases the weapon damage of the ship by 20%. So, I mean, you're going to be doing good damage if he's the captain against the Enterprise. And I would follow him up with Alexander Marcus, who at the start of battle increases the shield piercing of the ship by 2% of the defense of the crew. So I would use them in combination. And then maybe another officer who increases critical damage or something like that. So when you're doing the bypassing of the shield and whatnot, you're doing direct critical damage to their hull. And that way you're actually knocking them out quicker. So those are the primary officers I would recommend. There are some others here, but we would be here all night talking about officers, so I really don't want to delve into that too much. If there's officers that you have specific questions about that you'd like me to maybe do some research for you on and cover in a video, I'm happy to do that. Just send me a message in Discord or in the chat or whatever. Reach out to me through the various methods, and we can go over those different officers. The third question here we had was solo armadas, so I'll keep this brief with those. Mostly the question was where can you find them at and how do they work? So there's Dominion solo armadas and then there's Borg solo armadas. So I do have a ship up here actually. Cool. So you've got the Jim Hadar solo armadas. With solo armadas, you can participate with 3 of your ships. For me it's 3. I think for everybody else it's 3 as well. Let's check that real quick here. Yeah, so solo size is 3 at level 1. So yeah, so if you've got the AAC or ACC, I'm sorry, even at level 1, then you can do it. But the solo armadas are just for you. Now, what's really annoying about the solo armadas is that when you do a solo armada, it still notifies your alliance through a notification on their mobile app or whatever, however they got that set up. It still notifies them that there's an armada started. even though it's not available for them to join and it doesn't show in the chat at all. That's something that I think Scopely really needs to fix, because I literally, before I figured out there was a do not disturb on my phone, I used to get notification, and my tablet lights up as well because I actually play on my tablet, not my phone anymore. But my tablet, I would leave it on my nightstand with the screen facing up, and it would literally light up in the middle of the night because people were doing armadas, um, and I couldn't join those armadas, of course, but it just lights up my screen. So I did actually get a case that closes for my tablet as a result. So I wouldn't have my light popping up every 5 seconds, that, oh, well, somebody started an armada. But yeah, so the rewards for this obviously apply to your Cardassian store, the Bajoran store, and you can use 3 ships to join here. Same thing with the Borg armadas. Hold on. Yeah, sorry, makeshift. Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to answer the questions here in the stream, and that's why all these streams are recorded. It will be available on YouTube, so people can go back and rewatch it. I'm trying to not be long-winded, but I'm also trying to answer people's questions. So normally my streams are no longer than an hour and a half at most, but like I said, I'm trying to answer questions here for everybody. Go ahead here. All right, so the Borg spheres are another one that are solo armadas. You can join with 3 ships. And you see this here. That's something I'll explain in just a second. But yeah, you can join. So this is where those are. So those are the green areas like this, not the regular Borg space like this. So this is just standard Borg space. Figure out stop in here real quick and see if there's any the little Ferenginar Borg minor things floating around here for me to kill, because those are really helpful. A lot of people didn't even realize that there's actually this Borg space here in Romulan space right here. A lot of people just come down here and they see, oh, Borg right here, Borg right here, Borg right here. But yeah, those are up here as well. But anything that's green like this gassy kind of green looking nebula thing here, you can zoom out. There's some right here. There's one up here, one up here, one right there, so on and so forth. But those are going to have your little Borg solo armadas. Now, that little buff that you saw right here, this is important, because a lot of people did not realize this, and it's something that's worth knowing. This buff right here, you do not have to have your Talios queued up in this armada to get this buff. You don't even have to have the ship in your queue down here. It can be put away. You do this armada, win the armada, and you'll get this buff. And what this does, it reduces the damage of the expansion cubes, their little torpedoes they launch, by 12% with a maximum of 84% reduction, which is really helpful, actually. So what this does is you take that and then you go to the mega cubes, which, yeah, the expansion cubes. You can do the expansion cubes, which attack you with that, and you get that buff to do these. Now, again, a lot of people didn't know that. They thought you had to participate with the Talios or at least have it in your ship queue down here, but you don't. If you finish that armada and then equip your Talios, like so, then you'll find, and I'm not doing it right now, it doesn't have the buff right now because obviously I haven't done the armada, but you'll find there's a buff right here. It's where that shows up at to let you do that, and it's timed, of course. It gives you like 10 minutes, or no, it's an hour, 30, something like that, 30 minutes, I don't remember. But it gives you that buff regardless of whether the ship is queued up or not. So just food for thought with that. The other main thing here, and this is true with the Borg or the Dominion solo armadas, the bonuses for your ships that are granted work a little differently. So don't even know if I can start one of these right now. Let's find out. So with these, no, I can't start one. Okay, that was a waste of my resources there. But anyways, when you join with your ships, the first ship to join the armada is the one that gets the primary bonuses. So, for example, this crew right here is great for armadas because of him right here and the synergy. When attacking an armada target, every time a ship hits the opponent with a weapon attack, 6 of 11 increases the accuracy, armor, piercing, shield piercing of the ship by 10%, total attack, blah, blah, blah. So that's based on the attack of all the officers on the ship. And for this ship, it's actually horrible. I mean, it's not horrible, but I use the auger for this primarily. But with that synergy, you can see it gets a 400% boost. So really big synergy boost. I'd highly recommend taking advantage of that and utilizing that, because that's going to help you tremendously. But the first ship that joins is the one that gives the bonuses and buffs to the other two ships as well. So, I mean, your officer abilities will still play in, but they're just not going to play in as heavily, and they're not going to benefit you as much. So if, like, I joined with this crew right here, for example, which is not a bad crew, it's a pretty good crew, but if I joined with that crew first, it would negate some of the abilities and bonuses that I would get from this crew, and it would not be as effective against the target. And that's just for solo armadas, and it's kind of crazy, but that's how they work. So if that helps you, fantastic. If it doesn't, you have additional questions, let me know, and I'll see about covering that. If I can actually get some more credits for that, then I'll run a couple of those and show you guys more about the bonuses and the buffs and stuff from that. I have yet to be able to successfully run one of these, and these are not solo armadas. These are armadas that people can join into, but you can see the buff right here. Actually, click on. Actually, I don't like her, so we'll click on I'm not a cat. But there's your buff right there. I'm gonna see if it doesn't pull up in there. But yeah, so this person does have the buff. You can tell from looking at it right here that they have that. I was kind of hoping it would show you all that the buff is, but yeah, this is where you want to use the Talios specifically, is for this. Also, Talios does have a higher warp range, so it can actually reach the new Borg area, which is right here. So this is the new Borg area. The Vidar cannot reach this. Only the Talios. The Talios is the only one of the one, unless you're using this crew right here, is the only one that can reach here. And bearing in mind that TOS Scotty actually won't work with the Vidar either, so he's pointless to have on the Vidar, but this is only for explorers. So just a reminder on that. All right, the last part of this here was how to use the Mantis effectively. Now, this was not a question somebody actually asked me. This was something that I saw that might be something that could be helpful to somebody, because I've not actually seen anybody other than myself use the Mantis in this manner. So let me pull up the Mantis here real quick, because I think, like I said, this is important for people to know. Maybe I shouldn't tell people, but I'm going to anyways, because I like trying to be helpful. So the Mantis has this ability to poison enemy targets. So disrupts player, 53% critical chance, minus 53% critical chance, minus 53% critical damage, and minus 40% to shots per round. So it delays their shots, delays their critical chance, or minuses their critical chance by a little more than half, and then minuses their critical damage by a little more than half. Delays weapon fire for 1 round for that ship, but also prevents them from warping. So this is the big one right here that a lot of people forget about, or just they don't read it and don't know about it. They just know that it debuffs your enemy. But they can't warp. So when you're coming into any mining space and somebody is OPC, let's see actually if there's anyone in my space that's OPC right now. There's not anybody mining. Oh, look, who's this guy? He's in my alliance. He's OPC. Tupa Big Merc 13. you're OPC by almost 100,000. Of course, yeah. So, no, we don't. We don't have the power, unless everyone else has Talios makeshift. No. Um, if I was in an enemy alliance and wanted to hit him and destroy him, but I was worried that, hey, this guy's maybe watching his ship. He can't. He's going to warp out before I get to him. He's going to see my ship coming, or he's going to realize he's OPC and he's going to warp out while I'm en route. Okay, use the Mantis. If you use the Mantis on him, he can't warp out. So if I was to take my little ship right here and go bloop, and then go bloop, so now he can't warp out. And yes, I realize I just did that to an ally, so I'm actually gonna help him out here. And oops, change my synergy here because I'm not running an armada right now. So I'll send my ship to defend him. But with the let's see, now he's portaling away. Hold on, I guess I'll tell him. Hold on, Big Merc. Don't freak out. Using you as an example. Okay. So that's something that I've not seen anybody actually use that. I've never had anybody hit my miner using a Mantis. I think a lot of people are afraid to use their Mantis because it'll be perceived as being hostile towards another alliance. But this is what the Mantis was designed to do, other than obviously attacking enemies in Mantis space. But you can't poison hostile ships. Like, it does not give you the option to poison a hostile ship. It doesn't populate. See, I click on him. Well, it's not going to do it now because it's recharging. But oh no, I'm guarding him makeshift. He's fine. There's not going to be anybody that bothers him. I was not with my ship sitting right here. And the higher levels aren't worried about Latinum like that. I mean, I mine Latinum on a regular node 500,000 some odd per second. And on a double node, I mine it at over 1 million, like right here. Is that a double? Yeah, that's a double. So with my mining ship, I mine it well over a double. Pull it up here real quick, and this is not even tier 9. I actually scrapped my tier 9 to get the Freesia. Yeah, see, so I'm just gonna go ahead and mine it right now. But anyways, so if you're trying to keep somebody from warping out, that is the best way to do it. If you're worried about them retreating when you're trying to steal their resources, that's the number one best way to do it. If you can get the Mantis, use it for that. It is not hostile towards another alliance, and if they have a problem with it, tell them their person should not have gone OPC, because hitting an OPC ship, overprotected capacity, for those that don't know what that means, if you're hitting an OPC ship, it's a valid hit anyways. So if they're complaining about it, literally just be like, they shouldn't be OPC. It's a valid hit. It's not hostile. And to be quite frank, if they're still offended, they're a snowflake and they shouldn't be playing this game. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to step on toes. I'm not trying to call people out. But this is a PvP-oriented game, and I'm a free-to-play player, but a lot of these people aren't. I mean, you can go and, I mean, we have people that are lawyers that are quite wealthy that put like $10,000+ into this game on my server by itself. I've actually played on another server before, and I know there's tons of people on there that put way too much money into this game. I've in the past on different servers, I've put way too much money into this game too. But yeah, I mean, they've got this store for people that want to buy money, spend real money to buy stuff. And I can, because I have spent some money in the past, I can go over stuff in the store that I would recommend buying at certain levels, but I didn't poison him that time. I don't know who did. Um, I guess this guy did right here. Makeshift. But yeah, I would definitely recommend using the Mantis effectively to attack miners, especially on Latinum Mondays. When if a person on a Latino goes and concentrated lat as well goes OPC and you destroy their ship and take their Latinum that they're over their protected capacity for, um, you steal points from them. It's 50 points per um, piece of latinum that you steal from them. So if you steal 100,000 latinum from somebody, like from this guy right here, for example, your alliance is losing. Well, their alliance, the one that's losing the latinum there, they're causing their alliance to lose a significant number of points, which will rank them downwards in the actual ranking for Lat Monday. And Lat Monday does give some pretty good rewards. It's every Monday. Mine Latinum or mine any other like ore, gas, crystal, that kind of stuff, and you get the rewards from that. It's a solo event as well as an alliance event, and some people forget about that and probably need to be reminded about it because it does help our alliances. Um, but yeah, so I just wanted to show everybody that because it was something that I had found out and figured out early on, and I didn't see anybody else taking advantage of that. So I wanted to point it out to everybody. But yeah, that wraps up our stream for this evening. I know it was a lot of information overload. Go back and rewatch the stream if you need to. It is going to be saved on my YouTube channel. I am not making it available on Twitch, however, so it'll just be strictly YouTube. And if there's other questions that do come up that you guys would like answered, if you would like me to go over any different topics or any additional requests, then feel free to drop me a line in, like I said, Discord. You can find a link to that below here in the description. Actually, I don't think I put it in the description. I'll go back and edit that and put that in the description. Or you can message me on, well, I guess you can't message me on YouTube, but you can leave a comment on the posting here for the video, and I do read those comments. So that is something that I will take a look at, and I see that he did a venomous puncture on my miner. I take great offense to that, just so you know, makeshift. But you'll never get me OPC. It'll never happen. I can't tell you the last time I was caught OPC. And by the way, my protected cargo for my Devore is almost 200,000. So I can almost empty this entire node and be protected still. So that's what I think about that. Anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed this. I hope it was informational. I hope you learned something, got something out of this. Like I said, if anyone has any additional questions, definitely drop me a line. Let me know, and we'll see about getting those answered. I do have other content as well that I'm doing, so if you guys want to check out those videos, drop me a like and subscribe on YouTube. You can get some notifications regarding my future streams, and you have access to additional content. There is no charge for that. I do not charge for my content. I'm a content creator, and I'm here to provide entertainment and hopefully information for stuff like this for you guys to equip you to have a better game and enjoy yourself more. So peace out, and see you all next time.